It's the year of 2025. You probably heard about it, maybe you haven't. A guy from the UK came over here to the USA to spend some time with the friends. And he wanted to experience that 2A, that Second Amendment. He wanted to experience that. He wanted to feel it. But when he got back home, they terrorized this man for weeks. Take a look at this. It's gonna be a long watch, so just stick around.
British IT consultant Jon Richelieu-Booth. He posted a photo of himself holding a gun while on vacation in Florida. This was over the summer. And when he returned home, he says police showed up at his door. A week later, he was arrested on suspicion of possessing a firearm with intent to cause fear of violence. He spent one night in jail. He couldn't work for weeks because the police seized his phone and computers. He also says the police came to his home 3 more times before the charges against him were eventually dropped. Jon's story even got the attention of Elon Musk, who posted, "This is why we have the First and Second Amendments in America." Joining me now is that man, Jon Richelieu-Booth, who describes all of this as 13 weeks of hell. Jon, thanks for being with us here today. Let's just start with what you were doing. What, business trip to Florida? Shot a little trap? Hold a shotgun?
I was visiting some friends that I used to work with, and they took me up to a homestead, and it was July 4th weekend. It was absolutely fantastic. No one does July 4th like Americans, and we were all hanging out on the 5th, and my good friend Richard, his son Michael and Corey, they were shooting. And they said to me, "Hey, Jon, do you wanna maybe handle one of these weapons?" Which is why when you look at the photo of me with a shotgun, I look absolutely terrified.
Yeah, well, it looks like also that you probably had a good time, as one would, shooting what looks like a variety of guns. But you post that on social media, you get home, and the police in Yorkshire visit you. Tell me why they visited you and why they arrested you back home in the UK.
It's a bit of a convoluted story, but the photo of me with the shotgun triggered, no pun intended, a former client of mine who owes me a not insignificant amount of money. And I was visited by the police. I offered to show the officer the photo that my friend had sent me via Facebook Messenger with the geotags and everything on it. And he told me that wouldn't be necessary. And then at 10:30, roughly, on the following Sunday, so about 10 days later, he turned up at my door, forced his way in, and dragged me off to the cells. Told me I was being arrested for suspicion of possessing a firearm and also stalking, which was a secondary LinkedIn post, yes.
Yeah, and I believe, wasn't there some accusation of terroristic threat or threatening violence? It seems to be, as you pointed out, in the post on LinkedIn, where you have the picture of you holding the shotgun, you talked about, no connection that I could see, but you did talk about a client that owed you money. So is that the connection they were making? You talked about somebody owing you money, you pursuing collections, and then had a picture where you also were holding a gun?
That's correct. I posted the picture of the gun because I thought it was cool. I was really excited about the experience I'd had. I didn't mention on the post that it was a vacation snap. Maybe I should have. And it was just used as evidence against me by this client. And he had me arrested. I had everything, as you said, in the open. I had everything seized. I couldn't work. Couldn't obviously provide for my family, and I then got arrested a second time, but that's after the police had turned up at my door 3 times looking for me, including the day where I was at the inquest into my mother and father's deaths. So this was a high stress time anyway. And then I got arrested again. I spent another night in jail, and I was charged with a public order offence, which was related to a totally different LinkedIn post. And the charges were dropped because the CPS in the UK that's the Crown Prosecution Service, said there wasn't enough evidence, and it was a very there wasn't a likelihood of successful prosecution.
I believe that's the case with all the charges, right? They've all now been dropped, despite the fact
gone.
Everything's gone. 13 weeks of hell. One last quick question, John. What does that make you think about, not to be too pointed about where you live, but versus a place where, well, you can hold that gun, and as is still the case, at least for now in America, you can make that post. You can say what you want. You can do what you want.
I've always believed in truth and justice, and I guess the American way. You're a great country. You've got freedom of speech. You can, like you say, handle those guns. I think what's happening at the moment is very alarming, that our free speech seems to be being eroded, and the authorities seem to be overreaching.
Right.
I'm trying to stay humble. I'm praying on this, and I've got to have faith that he'll right the ship. The world will come back from this, but I'm scared.
So yeah, they tried to railroad your boy. He went to a whole different country to go experience that 2A. He took some pictures, and when he got back home, they tried to ruin that man's life for no reason. You feel me? So we live in a world right now where you got to be very, very careful about posting guns on your personal social media pages, because some people may try to use it against you, especially when it comes to friends, family, co-workers, you know, when it comes to just your employer. You got to be very careful about that, because a lot of that stuff could come back to haunt you. And, you know, somebody, they might see your social media page, they see you got a lot of guns. Next thing you know, they thinking you might snap one day. They think you might be a maniac, one of these crazy shooters, you know what I'm saying? But you might just be a regular dude that like to shoot guns, that like to collect guns, tinker with them and all of that. But you got some people that don't really understand that. And some people, they look at the 2A as, oh, it's just a guy that goes hunting on the weekends with his friends and family with a bolt action rifle, but they may not necessarily respect the side of the 2A where people have AR-15s and AKs with drums and FRTs, and, you know, guys that got sniper rifles and all of this other stuff. Like, they may not understand that, you know, and that could possibly come back to you. And if you a guy that, you know, you post a lot of guns on your social media page, you might try to get a job. When they look at your social media and they see that you a gun owner, they see you got a lot of guns, they might get scared. They might not even want to hire you. They may not want to even give you that opportunity. So I feel like when it comes to your personal life and what you do with guns, it might be a little bit more beneficial to keep that separate. I mean, if you work for yourself, you know, you your own boss, you cut your own checks, I don't really think it's that big of a deal. But like, you know, if you're trying to work for other people, and a lot of employers now, they check people's social media pages. And if they see you a guy with a lot of guns and, you know, the big scary guns, they might not even want to hire you for real. You know, they might not even want to just do that. So, and I've seen it play out in real life. People using gun ownership against somebody for some type of monetary gain or whatever. Like, you know, two people get into an argument. One person knows the other person is a concealed carry holder. They might try to use that against you. You know what I mean? When they call 911, oh yeah, this person, they got a gun. And then now, you know, you're getting surrounded by law enforcement officers because now they got to respond to the scene a little bit differently once a gun is brought up. So I don't know. What y'all think about this? You know, when it comes to you posting guns on the internet, do you post it on your personal page? Do you keep it private? Do you share this hobby amongst your friends and family? Or is this something you completely just keep to yourself? You know, you go to the range by yourself, you shoot on your own, you keep it private, whatever. I don't know, man. Let me know in the comments.